Apple expands live US F1 race reach with Imax. New UK data shows YouTube's role in TV content discovery as Stephen Colbert taps YouTube, avoiding FCC oversight, and NextGen TV struggles. Listen on.
Welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Stream. This is Will Richmond from Video News, and Colin Dixon from In-Screen Media is with me there. Colin, how is everything?
It's great, Will. I've been spending a lot of time over the last week or two on Gold Zone on Peacock, and I can tell you this, I am never doing skeleton or luge. These guys are crazy.
But conversely, you will do dual mogul or ski jumping or speed skating, Colin? Is that the idea?
No, I think curling is about my speed.
Curling may be the safest Winter Olympics sport. I don't know what could be safer than that.
I don't think there can be anything safer, although do not ask me to explain the rules. This is a Byzantine set of rules, if ever there was one, about any sport.
That's one of life's great mysteries, how curling works, of course. Yeah, so starting off this week, Colin, is something that both you and I are excited about. Apple is working with Imax to offer 5 of the F1 races to 50 different Imax locations in 2026. And this, of course, follows Apple signing F1 as to get their U.S. broadcast rights in a 5-year deal last October. So this is a new partnership that Apple has unveiled, and seems like a winner to both of us. I like the idea that Apple is further leveraging its rights and introducing F1 to existing fans and to new fans through the immersive IMAX experience, which will in turn, by raising awareness, no doubt, drive subscriptions to Apple TV, where all the races are in the U.S. So that seems like a win. And it also picks up on the tailwind that Apple TV got with F1 the movie, which starred Brad Pitt, and that was a big one for Apple's original movies group, and that was last year. I think that film ended up grossing around $600 million. So Apple is building a nice footprint here with F1, which has become a more and more popular sport, and seems like they're going to get a ever better return on their investment here.
I think so, and I think the IMAX relationship is a great one, Will. I can't think of a better way of enjoying an F1 race than at a live IMAX showing of that race, other than being there. And in some respects, it may even be better. I mean, if they're taking you into the pits in that experience, as well as showing you the race, it would be a fabulous experience if they could couple smell vision and give you the smelling the oil and the burnt rubber at the same time. I can't imagine a better experience. So this is a great deal, I think, for both Apple and for IMAX. And I also noted that DirecTV is getting in on the F1 experience. So if you're a DirecTV subscriber, you will be able to watch the F1 races live in the DirecTV experience without launching Apple TV, provided, of course, that you subscribed to Apple TV through DirecTV. That's a bit of a complicated formula there. But the great thing is you don't have to switch apps. It's right there. Presumably that means if you're searching for the sport, it will come up in DirecTV searches. So it will be a very, very smooth experience for viewing the F1 race if you're a DirecTV subscriber. And I like this as well. I mean, this is good for DirecTV. This is good for Apple TV, because obviously it makes it much simpler for DirecTV viewers to watch the game. Presumably DirecTV will be promoting the races as well. And it also will hopefully give Apple TV more exposure to the races and to the advertising, which will undoubtedly be included with that. So, as we know, the more eyeballs, the better as far as advertising is concerned. So I love it, and all of this also gives this sport more opportunity to reach new viewers. So I think there's just a lot makes sense here for Apple and for all of its partners to continue to drive the growth of F1, and F1 really has grown pretty phenomenally over the last few years in the US, driven by, of course, the Need for Speed on Netflix, and now Apple's F1 movies. So this should continue to see super growth. And I also note, as an Apple TV box user, that they're already heavily promoting those races on there. You just have to page down from the home screen just once, and there's a whole row of the upcoming races for you to, I guess, set reminders on and explore in advance of them happening. So lots happening around there, and good luck. I hope Apple TV has lots of success with F1 in the US.
Yeah, I'm not a F1 watcher, but I have to say the prospect of going to Imax and having that experience is enticing. I think it sounds like a really interesting type of thing to attend. And as you said, if you can maybe pay a little extra and get the smell vision, you get the full experience.
Yeah, I think it's a great promotion vehicle, Will, and I think it will draw in people who are, marginally interested in the sport. I think they'll come. I think they'll come for this enhanced experience. So really like it and looking forward to see it. Maybe I'll go see one of the races there as well.
Yeah, actually, I'm intrigued to see whether it comes to IMAX here in Boston. So we'll have to keep an eye on this one. Let's move along to our next story, Colin, which relates to YouTube consumption in the UK.
Yeah, we actually had a story about this a little while ago where we were talking about how YouTube has, for short-form content, at least on TV, has overhauled the dominant provider of content in the UK market, which is the BBC. Well, Barb issued a new report yesterday, and we're looking at a report that was actually, but this is actually Variety reporting on Barb's data. And the interesting thing here is that they say that over half of UK audiences now watch YouTube via their TV set, which is a pretty amazing number. They say 54% is on TV sets. 54% of YouTube viewing is now on TV sets. And what's more, they're talking about how successful broadcasters in the UK are with YouTube. They're saying, for example, that Sky reaches 3.4 million. Channel 4, which is one of the major broadcasters in that market, reaches 2.5 million people via YouTube on TV sets. These are numbers that are, getting up to the same as they're reaching through their broadcasts, which is pretty amazing. But there was one really interesting comment here, which I wanted us to spend a little bit of time with. Barb said that in its view, that YouTube is as much of a gateway to content as EPGs on traditional cable and satellite platforms. And I really do think that this is an area that YouTube is really beginning to exploit in all markets, including here in the US, not just in the UK. And it really reflects the continued frustration that people have with, quote, premium providers like Netflix and cable and satellite. It is very hard to find things to watch. And one of the things that YouTube does so well, whenever I go to YouTube, either on my TV or on my phone, and I mostly watch on my TV these days, there's always something new to watch. My feed always lets me know when a provider I'm subscribed to has a new video. And the algorithm does a pretty good job at matching similar videos to those videos, to other videos, and also bringing me new stuff. So in a way, YouTube on television is beginning to make up for what I think is a very poor discovery environment that is being provided by people like the tvOS providers and the SVOD services themselves. One of the things that's very clear here is, we've talked about this on the podcast before with the tvOS providers, that they are completely biased. Well, they're not completely biased, but they're very biased towards their own services. I was spending time with Roku's results this week, and the Roku CEO continues to boast about how it uses its interface to heavily push its own services, Friendly TV and Howdy, both of which are competing with other similar services on its own platform. So this is clearly not an even playing field. Well, YouTube is a pretty even playing field given the way that it works, given this algorithm and given the fact that you can sign up, you can subscribe to services, and you're guaranteed to be told when they have new things to watch. So I think this is actually a good thing for broadcasters. People like the BBC are actually saying that YouTube is very complimentary in helping people find their content, and it's actually very helpful to them. But it also comes with an implicit risk because, of course, people are spending a lot more time inside of YouTube, which is competitive to their own apps and their own direct relationship with their viewer. So, complicated area, right, Will?
Absolutely. This whole migration of YouTube viewership from online and mobile to the connected TV has been, I think, fascinating to watch. And now as we see data coming out from services like Barb about just how significant this phenomenon has become, it really does sort of scramble the picture. And just to pick up on one of the points that you made, the idea that users are already logged in to YouTube and consuming it on their mobile devices and online provides such a natural pathway for YouTube to be able to kind of get a hold of that navigation experience on the TV, because everything has been already preset. The viewer has not had to do anything on the TV. They're just having content presented to them that picks up on their natural behavior. And that sort of tailwind is, I think, significant in a world where we have so many different content choices in front of us that navigating to what we might be interested in on what particular service it's going to be on has become ever more complicated. So YouTube has really found, I think, a nice synergy between all the consumption that happens on mobile and online now with the TV. And the proof point is, as you know, we talked about Barb reporting how much consumption is actually now happening. And to your point, this creates all types of new challenges, I think, for established media companies. Of course, they love the extra visibility and distribution they're getting, but are they going to be able to remain as in control of their viewership and their viewers as they would like? Or are they just going to be ceding ground to YouTube over time? So this one is, I think, a really interesting one to watch in the future.
Yeah, and unlike many of the other providers, they're really focused on the mobile experience as well. They're doing innovative things like, I'm pretty sure one of the last time I used YouTube and I was in the same room as my television, YouTube can tell when I've got YouTube on my TV on my mobile. And when I'm browsing, they're asking me, do you want to watch this on TV? And that sort of level of integration I'm not seeing with the other mobile apps and other providers in the television space. They're not leveraging the mobile device as YouTube is. So this just lends credence to this idea that Barb is putting out here, that it's becoming a great discovery mechanism and browsing mechanism for television, premium TV, not just creator TV. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting development. It's great for users, and well, YouTube continues to be an existential threat, I think, to premium providers.
Yeah, and so that's a good segue, Colin, into our next item, a short one. You and I have both been following what's been happening with Colbert this week, and this segment that he recorded with the State Representative in Texas, James Tallarico, a segment that Colbert said CBS did not want him or allow him to air on his broadcast, and which instead he then chose to stream on YouTube. And that interview has now received, I think, about 8 million views. And Tallarico has, I think, raised about $2.5 million in the wake of that publicity that he's gotten. So we have an example here, it seems, that rules that may or may not even be appropriate to Colbert about equal time have resulted in YouTube having yet another win in terms of establishing itself as a credible outlet and a widely used platform for content that may or may not be on established media. So I know you have some thoughts about about the equal time issue from CBS, but what's your first reaction to YouTube's role here, Colin?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's doing exactly what we were talking about in the last segment, Will, right? It's a great platform for discovery, and it's also relatively unregulated. They can, and Colbert can do anything he wants up there, and this is a great example of how he's doing just that. It really makes me wonder what will happen come May, what Colbert will consider doing. I think without question, if he wants to continue doing the late night thing or this type of show, I think his future is probably in streaming, Will. And I'm wondering if he could make the Colbert late night show work on YouTube. That would be a first. It would be a brave move. And I think that could be extremely interesting. Look, the truth is that YouTube has, as we've talked about, fabulous reach on television. And I suspect that he could reach as many people, if not more people, by moving to YouTube. Now, I don't know that he can earn the same amount of money that he's been getting from CBS over the years, but I think he could probably do very well. But he would be able to do anything he wants in that environment, and I think he's pretty frustrated. He feels like CBS is self-censoring. That was one of the points that he made on his broadcast. In fact, he went as far as to say that the lawyers told him that he couldn't even talk about the fact that he had made the interview. But he was talking about that on the broadcast anyway, so I guess he's not worried about being fired, since he has already been fired, as it were, in May. But of course, all these issues go away if he were to move to YouTube or some other streaming property. He could basically do whatever he wants with the show, and the FCC wouldn't be able to do a thing about it. So I don't know. Well, I'd be very interesting to see what he decides to do when he finishes in May.
I agree. Over 10 million subscribers on YouTube to his YouTube channel right now immediately gets leveraged if he wanted to go full-time YouTube, or potentially to Netflix or another streaming provider that might be interested in picking him up.
Yeah, and when you think about it, I mean, one of the things that FCC Chairman Carr has said is, well, these broadcasters, if they don't want to abide by people like Colbert, if they don't want to abide by the potential rules that we bring in, they can move to streaming. But, this sort of edgy content is what keeps people coming to broadcast today. If all of that moves to streaming, then it's just another nail in the coffin of particularly the free broadcasters like CBS and NBC and ABC and Fox.
Agreed. Well, let's move on. Speaking of broadcast, let's move on quickly to the last topic, which you want to cover, related to the ongoing saga of NextGen TV adoption.
Yeah, we have more news on this week. TV Technology was talking about meetings this week with the FCC, and the NAB continues to vigorously make the case to the FCC that they need to do something, because right now NextGen TV, which is also known as ATSC 3.0, is still struggling to find its audience in the US. And they're making the case that there needs to be a mandate for TV manufacturers to include a NextGen TV tuner in their televisions to sell in the US market. Now, they currently aren't required to do that. And the problem is, Will, this is a problem for the television manufacturers. Last year, I think it was LG, or maybe it was the year before, LG was sued by a company called Constellation Ventures that's part of the patent pool for NextGen TV ATSC 3.0 technology. And they were making a very high demand of payments per television for a license to use its technology that is included in NextGen TV. And by the way, they're asking for more than all of the other patent holders put together in the provided technology that's part of ATSC 3.0. Well, the problem here is if the FCC were to mandate that TV manufacturers must include a 3.0 tuner, that sounds like a blank check for these patent pool providers who want to ask for extra money, because they know that the television manufacturers to sell TVs in the US must have a NextGen TV tuner in it. So they basically end up being able to, as it were, exact a very high toll on those television manufacturers. And what that means is, bearing in mind how slim margins are on televisions, that the US consumers will end up paying a lot more to cover these unreasonable demands from patent pool members for ATSC 3.0. And in fact, TV manufacturers are already pushing back. LG, which was in this suit, just made a decision to remove NextGen TV tuners from its televisions. And news this week that Samsung is also going to omit the NextGen TV tuner in its OLED TVs in the US market as well. So this is a complicated situation for NextGen TV. It is really difficult in the US market to get a mandate to switch off ATSC 1.0, which is what we currently have, and move to ATSC 3.0 because they're not compatible at this moment. That means everybody would need a new tuner, a new TV, some sort of box to make that transition. One of the things that NextGen has done really well is that they've gotten a lot of broadcasters around the country. Most people now have access to NextGen TV. And as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago when we talked about the Super Bowl, there were some interesting extension services showing up on those TVs. But most people can't receive them because they don't have a television that includes that NextGen TV tuner. So I don't know what the way forward is here, Will. I do think that having US consumers having access to free over-the-air television is a very important resource that needs to be maintained. I really think that NextGen TV services do bring interesting things to the US public that I think that they would enjoy using. And I also think that those things should be brought to them without the requirement of a deal with, say, Roku or a TV provider like Samsung, that all comes as part of the NextGen TV bundle. That's all important for us to receive. But I don't know if a mandate that you must include NextGen TV is going to fly, particularly with this specter of these patent pool holders hanging over the whole deal. It's really a difficult situation.
Yeah, I agree with that analysis, Colin. I don't really see what the way out here is. A mandate, as you said, seems like it's going to result in anti-consumer behavior. And that's not a politically palatable thing for the FCC to do. At the same time, we have, we were just talking about YouTube playing an ever larger role on the TV screen, as are other streaming providers. So the world is kind of moving along as ATSC 3.0 is kind of stuck in neutral, it seems.
Yeah, it really is. And we really do need a modernization of the broadcast system for it to remain competitive and useful to consumers. One other benefit of this, of course, is that we will be able to watch 4K Ultra HD over the air broadcast, which we can't do with ATSC 1.0. But really, this I don't know if this mandate for tuners is going to fly with this pattern pool issue over. They've got to figure out some solution to that. Otherwise, we are guaranteed to be paying more for televisions.
Fair enough. Well, as we close out, Colin, one last quick tidbit. It wouldn't be a podcast if we didn't mention the ongoing Paramount, Netflix, Warner Brothers saga. And this week, yet another twist and turn that Warner Brothers looks like they've now opened up for another week of bidding consideration by Paramount for a best and final offer. So just like everybody else, we're keeping close tabs on that one.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Netflix is going to get gazumped here, and Warner and Paramount Skydance is going to sneak in under the wire with this enhanced offer. I don't know. For me, I still think Netflix will be a much better home than Paramount Skydance. Yeah, absolutely.
They don't seem willing to take no for an answer, though. So
no,
no doubt we'll be talking about it again next week. But I think we're wrapped for today, right?
Yep, you bet.
Okay, great chatting, and thanks everyone for listening in, and we'll see you all again next week.
Inside the Stream is a production of In-Screen Media and Video News. All rights reserved.